Hi, everyone. I'm going to give y'all a couple minutes to jump on. Thank you so much. So it looks like y'all wanted a little bit more information on the door openers. Awesome. Can totally do that. Just a little review. This is part of a video series that we've been doing on the elements of living, or the archetypes of living and dying. And this came from different calls on hidden figures and codes, the figures and codes, the messages that some of us have been willing to receive and some of us have not been willing to receive, or sometimes we're willing to receive it, but not continuously. And then let's say we are willing to receive it, but then how can we do that with ease so it doesn't throw us into a total spiral, into like a confusion or upheaval? And gosh, the door openers are just such a beautiful category of the elements of living. A review, there's the influencers, the door openers, which we're going to talk about a little bit more today, the distractors, the discoverers, the outlaws, the powers, and then there's the different landscapes and spaces, and then there's the celebrants. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 different categories. And what we've been talking about in the first call was really about how the door openers are about being totally aware of what doors will be open, what doors can be opened, which ones are asking to be opened, so that it creates more. Not let me open the door so that I pick up on everyone else's stuff that doesn't belong to me. Oh, let me pick up on everyone else's pains and intensities, their sadness, their freak out, you know. Let's not open the door to that. We don't have to ignore it, but we don't have to open the door to it. It's like, oh, it's there. It's like when you know that something's on the other side of a door, like you kind of hear it muffled. It helps you dial down the noise. That's one of the things that when you're really willing to have all of these different energies in your arsenal, you can dial the noise down. So when some of you are like, it feels so loud all the time, when you have like a sensory overload, when it's that mental chatter, that monkey mind is constantly going, when it feels like everything is banging up against your body really loudly and you're like, oh, this is so intense. Well, this is a way for you to use all of these, including the door opener that we're talking about today, in order to turn down the volume. And then you can consciously increase it when it actually will create more. But there's ways of doing that. So we can talk about that another time. For today, I would like to look at the other aspect of the door opener, which is the closing the door part, and also how they're different than gatekeepers. So gatekeepers is an element to be aware of, and many of us have been told that was more valuable than being a door opener. So gatekeepers are all about protection. They're about like putting you behind the gates, putting your gifts and capacities behind the gates. The people who are like hoarders, who will not let go of anything. They won't let go of people that are toxic. They're in abusive relationships. That's a kind of hoarding. If they won't let go of the newspapers and magazines that they've had, the knickknacks, all the stuff that they fill up their house with or their car with, then they're probably having some kind of gatekeeper element running. And they're not really willing to look at this being a door opener instead, which is like, okay, is this actually creating more for me to have this or not? Is it time for me to close the door on having these figurines, these plates on my wall, or gosh, all these magnets, these bottles that are just taking up space in my garage? This is a really great energy to tap into and activate if you know of anyone who has this as a place that they're functioning from. I've had a lot of friends who are psychologists and counselors who this is their specialty, is working with people who have anxiety and then they start hoarding, and they find value and they feel like there's more security when they have more stuff around them, and they use this energy to invite people to have a different possibility, to really get clear on if it's actually creating more or not. And a lot of times it's not. Sometimes it is nice if they have the space and it really is about, oh, they feel there's not this compulsion energy to it, when they leisurely gather like plates to put on their walls over their travels and create like a travel wall, or like a collection of magnets of places that they've been to, and there's this souvenir piece, but there's not this like have to energy with it. So with gatekeepers, just to clarify this a little bit more, I made some notes about these. So gatekeepers are about enclosing you, about keeping you away from yourself, and also about not letting other people in. So I have clients, when I do life coaching, business coaching, relationship coaching, where they're like, oh, I want a new partner. I want to have a boyfriend. I want to have a girlfriend. But they're functioning from this gatekeeper energy where they're not willing to let anyone in. They're keeping everyone out. They won't go out of their home to meet people, but they're expecting somebody to show up at their house and be like, hey, I'm Prince Charming, and I'm going to totally sweep you off your feet, and we're going to run off together. There's a gatekeeper energy there. They're keeping them as enclosed from the very things that they're asking for. So do any of you have that running in your world? Is there any of that that's relevant to you? So yeah, say hi if you're here. I'd love to comment, and if you have any questions or anything, let me know. So let's see. Okay, great. This is going cool. So the other piece too is, there's so many examples of how this shows up that I can just go on and on about this whole gatekeeper thing, because that's what we've been told is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to protect ourselves with totems and amulets and things like that, even with the video games and things like that. An example of a door opener in which we're willing to actually open and close whatever is going to create more. We're willing to make ourselves vulnerable, but with total awareness of what is around us, who is around us, and what are the different places and spaces that we are going to be going into. I was looking at this. That's part of why I love the movie Guardians of the Galaxy. They use these infinity stones, and they're absolutely pieces of them that will destroy things, right? And there's a destroyers. There's many different kinds of door openers. When we go and talk about like actually all of the different ones in each of the categories, there's about 10 or so under each of them as the information that we currently have. So one of the examples of a door opener is a destroyer, because if you're willing to be a destroyer, you're willing to destroy the limitation, you're willing to destroy illness, you're willing to destroy pain to create more. You're also willing to destroy like people who are so like euphoric and blissful, and when you're in that space that you're so gone that you're not present in your life. So that's something that people are like, oh, that's really valuable, but is it actually creating more if you're not present with your body and in your life? In my point of view, that doesn't create more. That's just my perspective. Let me know if you think differently. So there's also the destroyers, of people that are trying to destroy you, of people that are trying to oppress you, of keeping you down, of those that are trying to lie to you. When you're willing to destroy any of those blocks in the way of you being able to perceive that, you open a door. So that's why the destroyer is one of the door openers. So the other piece too, so when we're actually able to acknowledge where we're being a gatekeeper instead of a door opener, we get to create more effectively. We get to receive more effectively. So we actually see, oh, am I actually like stopping myself from having what I'm asking for? Like we were talking about with people who are asking for a partner. Well, the same thing goes with a client. Oh, I want more clients. Are you willing to go anywhere it takes to get those clients? Are you willing to do anything it takes to find the people that are asking for you and asking for your services and your products? Or is it you're going to keep doing everything that everyone else is doing or that you've been already doing ineffectively? Do you see what I mean? So this is the kinds of things that come up for people as we're looking at this. Okay, I'm looking. Oh, there are some comments here. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry we couldn't turn on the captions with how Facebook blocks it, and the captions on Zoom are set up a little bit differently. Well, we actually have to have someone typing it out online. But hope you get to hear this later on, and thank you for being here for morale and for providing your energy and support. Hi, May. Hi, Sebastian. Thank you for being here. So the other thing that the door openers do is anywhere that we have this identity, like a diagnosis, a story that we've been using to put ourselves in a box or to decide who we are in a defined way, you know, and this is the people that are watching this, a lot of them are in their Soaring Beyond Definition group, right? So it's where we're actually trying to function from definition, which in itself is a limitation, instead of blowing out all of those stories, all of those doors that keep us in like a cell, in a prison, in jail, you know. And for me, you know, some of you know that I used to have a lot of chronic pain, a lot of chronic illness. I was on the verge of death. I've been hit by multiple cars and had a lot of injuries and complications from that. I used to have chronic anxiety and depression, and I used to have those be the story. And the other stories I used to have was, oh, well, I'm a child of divorce, and so that means this and this and this. And so anytime I would go into, so that means this and this and this, and because of this and this and this, those phrases, I knew I was starting to define myself with those diagnoses, those events, those stories, those identities. Oh, well, because my parents are Puerto Rican or Dominican, or my family this, oh, because I'm Black, or because I grew up in Appalachia part, you know, like all these different things, we'll use that to imprison ourselves and to then stop ourselves from receiving the totality that we are and everything that's possible with that. And also it starts using that as a filter for who can connect with us and who can't. Oh, because I'm from Puerto Rico and I'm multiracial, then I cannot receive from white men because I'm a female too, and all these different things. Oh, because I'm a child of divorce, then this means that I'm destined to be more likely to get divorced if I get married. So these are these things that I used to think. Like, I'm not just throwing these examples out there. Like, I used to think these things. And man, did it really cut off my receiving. And cut off, you know, me being able to use my gifts and my awareness of bodies, of people, of communication, of connection, to really create a phenomenal life. And it just keeps getting better and better. So what are the identities that you're using to close the door that actually stop you from creating more and receiving more and connecting more? And which are the doors that you could actually close, that are being asked to be closed, that if you're willing to close them would open up so much more for you, that would actually get you those partners that you're asking for, get you those playmates and friends, get you the clients that you're asking for, and the abundance and the money. It's like we close the door unconsciously to so many different things. And it's about being willing to look at, okay, where are the doors that I've already closed? I'm going to put this in the chat for us too. So where are the doors I've already closed that are stopping me from receiving? And what doors are being asked to be closed that if I close them, would create more. And I love saying create more for me, my body, and the world. That's just how I kind of tweak it, but make it your own. You know, add your spin to it, add your voice to it. And that's one of the things I love about the door opener is many of us, when we're really like, and May, who's here right now, thank you, May, for being here. This is something which, as you saw with your writing, you use the door opener energy and all of a sudden, whew, all this writing came through. Well, this is the energy that I be when I'm writing, so that it allows me to be more prolific. It allows me to write more in a very short period of time. It's just like a huge download and pour out instead of, and it's also very healing and cathartic. And like, I actually need to replenish when I'm writing because I'm clearing so much blocks for myself as I'm writing. Like maybe you notice that when you're really in a good flow with any time you're creating, maybe it's painting, maybe it's when you're doing woodworking, maybe it's when you're moving your body and dancing, and maybe it's during sex and you're creating in those moments, and then you have to replenish because you're like, you just let go of all this gunk and stuff that was in your world, in your body, that doesn't serve you anymore. In those moments, you are being the door closer part of the door opener. You're closing the door to like all that stuff that you don't need anymore. It's like, and let it go and bye. Don't need you anymore. Thanks for being here. And I'm good. I'm done with you. Oh, I'm so glad you're enjoying this series. Yay, thank you for that feedback. Oh, I have closed the door, comment in the chat. I have closed the door of self-doubt, self-abuse, and being a doormat. Doors of intentional life are now open. That is so beautiful. That is really, really beautiful. Okay. So yeah, where else is this showing up in your world? So play around with this energy. Let me know what it creates for you. I'd love to at least touch upon a couple of the other ones a little bit more as well. We haven't gotten to really talk about any of the distractors or the influencers. I kind of get the sense that there's a little bit of resistance to that. Because if you're willing to actually be an influencer, and not just like in a social media way, but actually be aware of where you are influencing your thought process, influencing your creative process, influencing how you show up in the world, and where you're not, where you're letting other people influence you and kind of control you. Whew, I mean, what would that create to be aware of that? And then when you look at the distractors, it's all these places where you're allowing yourself to be distracted by other things, other people, your awareness in a way that is not creating more. So we're talking about what's going to create more, what's not going to create more. So that would be my vote, is to talk about one of those and maybe some of the examples of those in the future calls. Thank you so much for the love and the power that you're sending your way. And I hope that your hearing returns soon. Thanks for that comment. So go ahead and vote in the poll. We're going to have a new poll posted because they expire after a little bit, and want to make sure it's fresh. And I'm also going to list some different ones in there that maybe I didn't list the other times. But if you have any questions about any of this, let me know. If you want to play with this more directly, let me know as well. Like I've mentioned before, these are really beneficial to run and be aware of with or without a living and dying body process. So these all are coming from my experiences with myself running this body process with clients, with family, with friends. And so if you haven't received a living and dying body process yet, and you'd like to see how this can influence and add to that kind of session, energetic therapeutic session, let me know. But play around with these because they're still beneficial even when you're doing it as activating and asking these questions just for yourself. It creates a ton. And then I love hearing from you. I love hearing what shows up for you as you're playing around with it. Thanks so much, y'all, and have a good one. We'll see you next week for the next one. Bye.